1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were guardians of peace, justice, and before the dark side, before the Empire.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Journal of the Jedi. As you heard, there was stories of the Jedi Knights for over 1,000 years. I don't know. I'm stop trying to be like Canon Library. I'm Chris Stolle. That's Brian Miller, otherwise
What's up, guys?
otherwise known as Doc in a Blue Box on Press A Gaming. If he ever uploads a video,
I know, right? Doc in a blue shirt tonight.
Doc in a blue shirt.
Yeah.
Pro Jarrett would be proud.
Right?
We've got a lot to talk about in Star Wars. Again, We don't have a whole lot in the way of comic books to discuss, except for DJ is garbage.
I actually finally read DJ.
And DJ is garbage.
I picked up my poll file, so I'm all caught up completely.
I'm not. I got to pick up my next poll file.
I'm all caught up. Dude, the new Vader run. The new Vader run is insanely good.
Duh.
And it just keeps getting better. Like, I didn't think it could get better, and it's getting better.
All right, well, see, these are things we got to talk about. Like we got to talk about like the new TV show that has been announced.
They did officially. Oh, you talking about the live action one?
Yeah, the live action one.
Yeah,
we got to talk about that. We got to talk about Jon Favreau being the overall executive producer of said TV show. Mm-hmm. We've got to talk about the fact that this TV show, if it's not set in the Old Republic, better have Vader.
We can talk about that.
If not set in the Old Republic era.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
It doesn't have to be like center stage. Just he's got him. If it's going to wind up in the original trilogy, which is where Disney seems to be most comfortable, it's got to be there. Vader's got to be there. I want a small screen Vader.
I wouldn't mind having like a Star Wars Battlestar Galactica-esque serial television series to watch. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that at all, to be honest.
Who would mind that?
But when I say Battlestar Galactica, I'm not talking like the revival series. I'm talking old school Battlestar Galactica.
Now, see, I'm thinking the opposite way. I like the remake better than the original.
Well, look, it depends on what era you set it in. If you set it during classic trilogy, you almost have to like use old school techniques to film. Like as far as like Rogue One goes, that's along the same lines as the classic trilogy, about the same time period there. The one thing I wish they'd have done differently in Rogue One was use the stop motion animation for the walkers on Scarif. I wish to God they'd have done it.
Well, no, I'm fine with that, and I agree with you to an extent. But I'm talking about like when I think about the original Battlestar Galactica, I don't think about like the period special effects. Mm-hmm. I think about the really bad acting that was in it, which that was for the time. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the original trilogy Battlestar Galactica, so I'm not dogging it, but it felt more natural in the acting in the remake. And, of course, also the fact that it was a lot darker and more of a human story and a little less about a robot dog running around.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that, yeah.
And I think if we're going to do, and maybe I'm thinking about, the Underworld series that we were supposed to get back under George Lucas's regime. 1313, I'm thinking I want a dark, down and gritty Star Wars show.
I take that back. I got people yelling at me right now. 1313 was a video game, not a TV show.
Right?
Sorry,
yeah.
Strike that.
Right.
My bad.
It was Underworld. It was supposed to be the underside of Coruscant, basically. And I mean, give me the Galactic War, or maybe some time frame between the Separatist movement and the rise of the Galactic Empire. But give me something dark and gritty. I don't need. We had cutesy in Clone Wars, although it ended or not Clone Wars in Rebels, even though it ended very dark for a kid's cartoon.
Yeah, dude.
And of course in our saga movies, even though there is some dark areas, it's still got its cuteness to it. If you're gonna do a streaming service Star Wars show, give me something that I'm going to be sitting there like the first couple seasons of Walking Dead or Game of Thrones, where you're just sitting there like, God, they went there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm completely agree. And with Jon Favreau doing it, I don't think that's going to be an issue. But you have to keep one thing in mind also. It's going to be on this, it's obviously for the Disney streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
Are they still going to be doing PG-13 rated stuff, or is it all going to be G for kids and stuff like you have to think you have to put PG-13 stuff up. They're
going to. The streaming service, the way I understand the streaming service is obviously all the Star Wars movies are going to be there. So already you have PG and PG-13. You got all the Marvel movies there, which are PG and PG-13. And technically, since they bought Fox, that means Deadpool will be there. So there's your rated R as well.
That's true.
Now, you also got to remember, Disney owned things for years like Miramax, Dimension Films.
That's true.
And let's remember,
that is true also.
Let's remember who released most of his movies through Miramax Dimension Films. That would be Kevin Smith.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure Disney doesn't have a problem putting something on. They just might have. They just might have an age restriction on those particular contents.
Well, if that's the case, I feel like they really look. We've had Rebels, we've had Clone Wars, which were more family fun, kid-friendly stuff, right? Even with Mandalorians being turned to ash and Kanan being torched, it was still family-friendly. It was kid-oriented.
Right.
It's time to give the fucking adults something. It is time. Give us a seriously gritty, just dark live-action Star Wars television show.
Look, I don't. Again, unless it's the Old Republic, which I really want an Old Republic.
Oh, give me both, bud.
But with the Old Republic, I could see it being more of this style that I was about to say that I don't need necessarily in Star Wars. But if we're gonna have death and destruction type grittiness like Game of Thrones, then give me Old Republic. If it's going to be set in the Galactic Empire or something like that, or even the 30-year time frame between Jedi and Force Awakens, Rogue One grittiness is good enough for me. Just don't give me the same shit that you've always done with Star Wars or with Disney movies or Disney TV shows where it's lighthearted and you're trying to incorporate everybody. I think one of the things that should be learned from The Last Jedi's failure with the audience, not necessarily the failure of the movie itself or I'm not going to get in that argument again. We've done enough videos on that. But if I were to take one criticism away from the fact that it had a 50% Rotten Tomatoes score and so many people vocal about how much it sucked and ruined Star Wars, if there's one takeaway from it, it is that you can't please everybody. So fuck trying to please everybody.
Yep.
Make the goddamn story.
That's something that. You hit the nail on the head with that. I feel like they've been trying too hard to please everyone. And look at the world we live in today. We have social media where it's so much easier to put your opinion out there for everybody to hear. Look, when Empire Strikes Back came out, I've seen a lot of people on social media saying, look, when that came out, a lot of people didn't like it at first. And then it grew on them. But you didn't have social media for everybody to throw their opinion out there. So not a lot of people knew that was such a divisive film at the time. Now with the technology we have, it is so easy to put your opinion out there. Look what we're doing right now. We're making a video to put on Facebook and YouTube. We're putting our opinions out there. 30, 40 years ago, you couldn't have done something like this.
No, you're absolutely right.
But now it feels, look, it almost feels like at this point, they're not doing it right. You're pissing too many people off. They're doing it the same way they did back then. It's just now how many people it's pissing off.
Well, see, that's the thing. Back in the day, I remember I would get my news sources, like my critique sources about movies from things like Siskel and Ebert and their thumbs, or Joel Siegel on Good Morning America. You know what I mean? Like professional critics who were paid to go see movies and then give you a review about it. Now, as we're proving here at Realm of the Mist with Journal of the Jedi, with the former Breaking the Fourth Wall, with That Trans Geek Girl, with Sith Lord 310 reviews, we're all critics now. We can all have a voice on this, and unfortunately, the great thing is that we all got a voice. The unfortunate thing is that people seem to forget that ours, just like yours, is an opinion. It's not fact. You know, I may use facts and stats in what I'm presenting to you, but you also got to remember that this Star Wars, just like music, just like any type of movie, and just like any type of play, just like any type of whatever, it's subjective. I fucking hate Lil Wayne. And Nicki Minaj, and people fucking love them. Am I wrong or are they wrong? Neither. Art is subjective. There's something that appeals to them that doesn't appeal to me. I can vocalize it on my shows, but that doesn't mean that my vocalization is correct.
But here's the thing now. Now we live in a generation where several people put their opinion out there as if it is fact, and they have to be right. Some people have to be right nowadays, and you can sit there and tell them till you're blue in the face, look, my opinion doesn't matter any more than yours does. Your opinion doesn't matter any more than mine. And they're still going to sit there and berate you. I was talking to somebody on a Facebook page, I believe it was last week, and he posted something about how he didn't like Last Jedi, which is fine. If you didn't like Last Jedi, that's fine. You know, it's not going to change the fact I pre-ordered it. I cannot wait to sit down and watch that Blu-ray. And I said, well, you know, I loved it. You know, it's just, that's fine if you didn't like it. I loved it. And he's like, but can you tell me why you loved it? I'm like, I'm not having this debate with you. I'm not going to sit here and feed a troll. And I just said, neither of our opinions matter. If you go your way and I'll go my way. And they still wanted to argue it.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem. Like, sitting here, I know we did a video where it's like, if you didn't like Last Jedi, you're wrong, and here's why. But that's because we were giving our little opinions and stuff of that nature and offering our case. But there are people out there that won't just accept, like, hey, you like it, I hated it, whatever. Art is subjective. It's like, oh, you loved it, I've got to change your mind. I mean, this is the whole mentality. Yes. This is the whole mentality of the world right now. Is if you don't agree with the way I view the world, you're wrong, and I've got to change you for it. I don't want to go political, but I've been having a battle with this one dude that was a longtime friend of mine, Jerry. You know, a longtime friend of mine named Jerry, who has a different political point of view than I do. And again, I'm trying to stay off of politics, so I don't want to go into detail, but it has not only destroyed our friendship, it has gotten heated to the point of physical violence being threatened against one another. Because he's got to force his opinion down my throat rather than just like, look, believe what you want to believe. Don't force it down my throat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate that it's that way, but unfortunately, this is the world we live in now. It's agree with me or you're wrong.
Yeah. And you've got people deleting people off of Facebook because of it. And it's their political opinion, or just their opinion in general. I don't want to get political.
I was using it as an example. I want to stay in entertainment.
No, you're good. But people value their opinion on a subject more than they do friendships and their relationships with people and stuff like that. No, it's just social media. If you delete me, I don't give two shits if you delete me. It's just Facebook. Nobody cares.
Right.
That doesn't matter, okay? Kirsty had somebody tell her one time, well, Brian's Facebook doesn't say that he's engaged to you. He must be cheating on you. Like, it's fucking Facebook, okay? Calm your virgin tits. It's okay. So, anyway, they're willing to delete people over a difference of opinion. Really? Like, are you serious? Because, look, a great example is right here at Realm of the Mist.
Right.
There's a lot of people split right down the center on certain issues.
Oh, yeah.
And we're very vocal about that to each other. But we still respect each other enough to sit down and to work together. We don't hold it against each other. We're adults about it. You know what I mean? Like, we still sit down, we still work, and we still, even when we're not talking about stuff like that, on after hours, we'll just sit and bullshit for hours.
We find common ground.
Exactly. And yeah, we're still going to piss each other off with our political opinions once in a while, but that's what family does. Family doesn't always get along, you know? And it doesn't make you any less family.
Well,
It
again,
doesn't make you any less friends.
well, again, I kind of want to get off this subject, but on this point,
same here. Yeah.
you brought a good point about Facebook that I just want to point out there, and it's the same thing with like YouTube and Twitter, especially Twitter. Guys, it's not life.
No.
It's social media. To me, on social media, every single one of you on social media are just words and text. You're not human beings to me. You're words and text. You don't matter. Now, I love my fan base that want to talk to me and they use social media to talk to me. I love my friends that use social media to talk to me. They're human beings. I love people like Brian and Christina who are my friends that I talk to not only on social media but off of social media. But understand, you critics and people that want to force your trolls that want to force your opinions down my throat, you're a text box. You're nothing.
Yeah.
You're what I delete out of my email like spam. Yeah, I mean, you don't matter. Your opinion matters to you. It does not matter to the world.
We don't even matter.
We don't even. No. Our opinion,
No.
our opinions matter to each other, absolutely, and
Yeah.
we record them to share with you guys for like-minded individuals, or to open a debate for people that may not agree, a
Yeah.
respectful debate.
Yes.
But we're not trying to say that our words are facts. It's just our opinion. And in the end of the day, everybody's got an opinion. It's like an asshole. Most of them usually stink. And guess what? None of them matter in the grand scheme of things.
Well, speak for yourself. My shit don't stink. So,
My shit smells like roses.
oh boy, dead
ones.
roses.
Dead
yeah.
ones.
Well, hey, speaking of opinions, I want to talk about something for a second here, and I don't know how much you can really throw in with this, just because you haven't read it as much as I have. I don't
We
even
reached
think
that
you touched
point
it.
already.
Well, I have it on my chest. I
Okay.
wanted to get it out because I just figured the opinion thing was a nice segue into it.
Well, then before we do, I gotta officially do it.
Oh yeah. Do it.
I just in case, I know you don't want to go into the territory, but we're gonna throw up Richard J and a little spoiler alert right here, because
there he is.
Fucking
there he
twat.
is.
We got ourselves a fucking
and he's got a
spoiler.
message for all you people out there.
Oh, you fucking twat. We got ourselves a fucking
Because
spoiler.
just in case he goes into a little bit of a spoiler territory, here
Yeah.
goes a in progress, I guess you would call it.
Yes.
First look review of the novelization of Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Brian, take it away.
So, if you guys can see, that's about how far into it I am. I'm just over halfway through, right? So, I'll have this book finished tomorrow. I cannot stop reading this book. Now, anybody who watches the Canon Library or Realm of the Mist, Journal of the Jedi, War of the Stars, anything that I've been on, you guys have heard me say that I loved the film The Last Jedi. Yes, that film split the fan base down the center, and I'm on the side that really, really loved it. And I'll defend that movie until the day I die. However, after reading as much of this as I have, I'm to the part now where Finn and Rose are trying to escape Canto Bight on the 5 years. That's as far as I am.
Okay.
It says expanded edition for a reason. It is definitely expanded. They have added so much stuff to this story that it is almost mind-boggling, to the point where I loved the film The Last Jedi. And usually when you get a novelization of a film, let's say like Force Awakens, Rogue One, you read the novel after you see the film and you're like, that was a good novelization of the film. That was really cool. They added a couple things in there. It kind of built on it a little bit. I'm getting the complete opposite with this. This is something that I've seen the film, and now that I'm reading the book, I feel like The Last Jedi, the film, was a pretty decent film adaptation of a novel, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense
Because
to me.
because the novel is expanding so much and adding so much to what was already there that I can't help but feel like this particular story, The Last Jedi, this story, shouldn't have necessarily been episode 8. Episode 8 could have been after this. Another, whatever the next part of the story is. But I feel like this story almost should have been strictly novel. And I can't help but feel that. But I still love the film, don't get me wrong. But now when I watch The Last Jedi, it feels like a film adaptation of this book. If that makes any sense at all to anybody watching. But I'm loving it so far. And since we got the spoiler thing up, like they added some stuff like Rey's third lesson on Octo 2 with Luke. It's in here, and I swear to God, it should have been in the movie. It should have been in the film. I swear up and down that film is incomplete with that scene. We even got a glimpse of that scene in the trailer for The Last Jedi, in case you didn't know that. But it should have been there. Some of the... Look, like I just said, I just finished reading Cobalt Squadron. The last 2 pages of Cobalt Squadron are stretched out, and the dialogue's identical through the entire second chapter of this. It's Rose saying goodbye to Paige. It's the entire second chapter is verbatim the end of that book. I even went as far as to pull out the novelization of Force Awakens to compare the two. Because when you finally see Rey in this novel, it starts with her leaving the Falcon and walking up the steps. The entire last minute of Force Awakens is the introduction. It doesn't just pick up with her standing in front of Luke. It leads up to her coming up to Luke. And I looked at the novelization for The Force Awakens and then this and compared the two. And there were a lot of similarities, and some of even the same lines were used to describe things. Like one of the examples, and I'm not going to give too much away here, but one of the things that was a good example was, let me find it here. Let me get to it, because I don't think it's until the next part of the book, which would have been part 2 of the novel, to be honest. They split it into parts. Here we go, part 2. All right, so it gets to the part with Rey. It even uses the same lines like when she holds the saber out to Luke. In The Force Awakens, it said, as she held it out, it said an offer, a plea. And then in this, it also says an offer, a plea. Like it mirrors it very, very well. And you can see where one kind of dips off and the next one picks up.
Right.
And it's absolutely beautiful the way this book is referencing not other films, but other novels. Things that have happened in other novels. This novel is bringing a lot of that stuff on that shelf back there together. Well, into one big thing.
Well, here's a question I'll ask, because I think all props to the God and Master Mark Hamill with his portrayal of Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, with the way he was projecting and making his character's feelings known through his facial expressions, not so much in words. But one of the things I'm most looking forward to in reading this book is them actually giving the inner dialogue, the inner monologue of Luke's feelings and thoughts through these things.
That's good. It makes what Luke is going through make more sense. It's people who hated Last Jedi because hashtag that's not my Skywalker needs to go read this fucking book. I'm not playing. You will love the story of The Last Jedi if you read this novel. I'm not kidding. They add a lot of dialogue in there and they tweak some dialogue here and there that kind of makes it more understandable why Luke was acting certain ways.
Right.
And when he's explaining to Rey what happened with Ben, you can tell that just from the way it's written, he's holding back. You can tell he's holding something back. And you're like, wait a second, no. Because obviously we know how it goes in the film. But if you were just reading the novel, you'd be like, wait a minute, something's not right here. But it even talks about how, like he makes one line in here. There's one thing he says in one of these chapters that was really, really cool. Mainly because it wasn't in the film. But it was a line of dialogue that led from a scene in the film into the third lesson scene, which was really just... Look, the third lesson scene takes place in the same setting and the same scene as the second lesson.
Okay.
When he's talking about Darth Sidious, that leads right into the third lesson. They're boom, boom, back to back, same night. And it's connected by a single line of dialogue in this, because if you remember in the film, that scene ended with Rey telling Luke, Kylo failed you. You didn't fail Kylo. He failed you. I won't. And that was the end of that scene, remember?
Right.
After she says that in the novel, it says, he looked at her, and then this is what he says, word for word. He says, I don't know who's more dangerous, the pupil who wants to destroy me or the one who wants to become me. Stuff like that, like it's added in here, and it's so good.
I like that line.
So good.
I like that line because I had a flashback to episode 4, to Obi-Wan popping out of the smuggler cargo area.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
You know, and who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him? It's like, it's such a nugget of advice there, you know? It's
just like hidden wisdom that when you actually sit, at first it comes off as a snarky remark, and then you're like, he's got a point. Mm-hmm. like that's deep. But no, seriously, for those of you who really did not like The Last Jedi, or it was even just like, okay, go get this novelization. I'm not kidding. It is worth the money to pick this up. If you're one of those people that you just hated Last Jedi and you're like, I'm not going to buy the Blu-ray, do me a favor and go buy the book. But go buy the book at least.
But I can already hear the complaints, and I'll play devil's advocate here.
I already know what you're going to say.
Why would I need a book if the movie was good? I wouldn't need a book to explain it to me.
Yeah. Well, if the book was good, they wouldn't want to make a movie out of it. You wouldn't have to make a movie out of it to visualize it.
Right.
Think about that also. It's a two-sided coin. Like I said, The Last Jedi seems like a film adaptation of this novel.
Well, here's the ultimate question I'll ask you then, Mr. Librarian.
Okay.
And I know we're kind of jumping the gun a little bit here because you haven't completed the book. But as of right now, as it stands, how does it rate in your top 10 of current canon novels?
Well, I've got that video coming out very soon of my ranking of all the novels. But since you asked, it's up there. It is up there because I'm looking at this novelization as not as a novelization. I'm looking at it as a novel. As just plain novel, like there wasn't a film it was based off of. I'm looking at this as just a novel.
Right.
It's up there, man. I'm not kidding. I'm going to go as far as to say it's better than Lords of the Sith, in my opinion.
Wow.
And I really liked Lords of the Sith. I think that was like 4th on my list. So I'm going to say it's top 3.
Wow.
Top 4. I'm going to say top 5. I'm going to play it safe and just say top 5.
No, again, you haven't finished it either.
Lost Stars is still my absolute favorite. And then Bloodline is right behind that. And it's in there, man.
Well, I haven't finished Lost Stars yet. I've been too busy with everything else, plus trying to keep Press A Gaming alive. I haven't had an opportunity outside of reading a chapter at a time, to really read. But as of right now, Lords of the Sith is still my number 1 of what I've read thus far. Thus far.
Lords of the Sith is a good one. Yeah. I wouldn't begrudge you that as your number 1. I really wouldn't. Let me give you an idea. I started this yesterday morning, and I'm already over halfway through it.
Okay.
And that's including going to work today. Like, I seriously cannot stop reading this. It's like, part of me, as soon as this is over, I'm going to go ahead and edit this together, and then I'm going to go lay in bed and read the rest of the night.
Do like I do. Read like with the comics, because it's keeping up for Journal of the Jedi. I've all read up on what I own. I'd have to get the new stash, as it were. But normally when I'm editing our videos, I'm reading the comics while I'm waiting for them to export.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Sunday I had a day off, and I had this, and I was sitting on it, and I was like, man, I really want to read Last Jedi. And then because I was still like halfway through Cobalt Squadron.
Right.
Which was like a little 4-hour read. It's one of those little ones. Mm-hmm. And I was like halfway through it, and I was like, I'm gonna treat myself to just a little nugget. I'm just gonna read the prologue. I just want to read the prologue of Last Jedi. And then I read it and was like, damn it, I shouldn't have done that. Now I really want to finish Cobalt Squadron. I was like, crap, I hate myself. So Sunday, I sat down and I powered through all of my comics. I finished the last half of Cobalt Squadron and then started this. I mean, I read 30 comics and half another novel in a day just so I could get to this. That should tell you something about how good this is.
Speaking of, we already know that you think that Thrawn is the comic adaptation of the book. Do you think it's has a new one released for Thrawn yet?
I've only read issue 1.
Okay, all right.
That's the one I've got right now.
My question's kind of invalid. Then I was going to say, is it true to, since I just bought Thrawn, but I haven't.
So far, it is.
I am so looking forward. The way you were with Last Jedi is how I am right now with Thrawn. Like, I know I've got A New Dawn to read. I know I got Bloodline to read. I know I got Empire's End to read, so I can finish the Aftermath series, that I just picked up. But with recently getting Thrawn on paperback, Thrawn is my Last Jedi book right now, where it's like I'm looking at it going, I've got to get through this fucking book to read that. You know?
Yeah. Thrawn is good. I really liked Thrawn. You know my thoughts on that book. That's a really good one. As far as the comic adaptation goes, like I said, we're only one issue into, and I don't know how many issues they're doing. Well, to do the adaptation.
Well, the one
because they got pretty far into the book with the first issue.
Well, what I was going to say is that normally with the movies, when they do the comic adaptation of the movies, like
it's
Rogue One,
5 or 6.
like Rogue One or Force Awakens, they're a 6-issue run.
Right.
So I would imagine it would be. Hi, Jen. I see you in the background. They would be. I would imagine it's got to be at least a 5-6 issue run.
That could make sense. Like I said, we're only one issue in, and they did get pretty far into it. It was kind of interesting. Now, it's been about a year since I read the Thrawn book. Maybe not quite. Yeah, it's been about a year since I read Thrawn. So, based off what I remember, it's pretty close. But I'm learning things. When I was reading the book, I guess I must have missed details somewhere when in my mind's eye visualizing this happening, where I didn't realize that somebody was wearing a certain set of armor, and then in the comic I'm like, oh, okay, so I guess they must have been wearing that. That's kind of cool. But it's kind of cool to actually see something that you can visualize. And I'm starting to wonder now if this isn't an experiment to see if they could, because like you said earlier, people are like, so I have to read a book to find out what happened to that character. I'm wondering if they're not going to get to the point where they start making comic adaptations of the novels, so that people can sit down and buzz through them in about an hour. You know what I mean? Just kind of buzz through and get the gist of the story.
It wouldn't be the first time. I mean, even back
and it wouldn't be a bad idea.
It wouldn't be a bad idea, but it also wouldn't be a first time because I mean, in my EU box of Star Wars stuff, I've got comic adaptations of things like Dark Empire.
Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah, and Shadows.
I've got all 6 issues of Shadows of the Empire.
So I mean, it is something you can do. And I don't see that being a terrible thing. Just like in previous videos we've talked about, I don't see it being a terrible thing continuing the Legends series. You know, just let people know this obviously isn't canon. It's
just keep putting Legends banners on.
Yeah, it's from a certain point of view.
Yeah,
you know
anybody who's going to pick up those books knows that there's canon and Legends. And if you start releasing stuff and it's got the Legends banner on it, it's good enough for them. Anybody who's going to read it is automatically going to know that. And if they don't care about Legends and canon, then it doesn't matter. They're just reading it for the story anyway. Right. So just simply release it with the Legends banner on it.
Absolutely. But I definitely want to move on here because there's a lot more to discuss, and we're already a half hour in.
We're a half hour in.
And I know one of the parts, which I'm trying to kind of save for last here, which I'm going to segue in. I know one of them's going to spark a heavy debate and discussion.
Oh, boy.
So I'm sitting on that one. But we'll lead into it with great news in the Star Wars community, the fandom in general. Mark Hamill has finally been honored with his star in the Walk of Fame.
It is about damn time.
His portrayal of Luke Skywalker, his portrayal of the voice of Joker, hundreds of other voiceovers in the Star Wars community. Obviously, besides Luke Skywalker, he was also the voice of Darth Bane, and he was the voice of the little drunk, greedy creature in The Last Jedi, a Canto Bite.
Well, look, like when I was a kid, there was a TV series I watched on Nickelodeon called Space Cases. Okay. Nobody else apparently remembers this series at all. But it was about these 5 kids that got on a spaceship and was lost in space, right? It was essentially Lost in Space for kids on Nickelodeon. Okay. And there was one episode, and I was getting Kirsty to watch it. I found all the episodes on YouTube a few months ago. And she was watching them because she loves stuff like that. And one of the episodes popped up, and there were these 2 guys contemplating on whether to shoot a missile at their ship or not. And one of them was Mark Hamill. I never noticed it. And one of them was Mark Hamill with like purple makeup on his face, and he was talking like, well, what do you think we should do? Do you think we should shoot the missile? And, you know, like really 90s Nickelodeon-esque stuff. But it was funny. And I never realized it was Mark Hamill.
Well, here's one for you. It's also on YouTube. You can find all 13 episodes. There was a cartoon for a while called Wing Commander, which was based off of the popular computer video game.
Yes!
Mark Hamill voices Christopher Blair, and Biff from the Back to the Future is Maniac, his buddy.
Yep.
So those are on YouTube. Go check them out.
Yes, those are awesome. Those are freaking awesome. But yeah, he finally got a star. Well deserved.
Well deserved. We here at Realm of the Mist, and particularly at Journal of the Jedi, we applaud you, Mr. Hamill. It's about damn time.
It is.
Now, into the inner workings of Lucasfilm. The announcement of Jon Favreau being the executive producer to a live-action TV series to be debuted on the Disney Netflix, for lack of a better term here. Obviously, first and foremost, let's talk about it. It's Jon Favreau. The guy is a huge, huge fan of Star Wars and a successful director / producer in his own right. I mean, he's had his hit and misses, but I mean, just think about it. Like things like Iron Man. Iron Man 1, the one that started the MCU, was Jon Favreau. I mean, that alone is enough to tell you. But here's my question to you. With Jon Favreau being the executive producer of the TV series that's happening, do you think that this is his gateway, knowing his friendship with them, for Dave Filoni to finally have a live-action directorial debut?
Ooh, all right. I answered a question kind of like this on Mailbag yesterday for the Canon Library. Somebody asked me if I thought Filoni was going to take over Lucasfilm at some point, which is a much bigger step than what you're asking. I know, but I'm gonna answer the same kind of way I did then. I would believe
only if I get to answer that question.
Oh, fair enough.
Okay, go ahead.
I would believe Filoni would do live action before taking over Lucasfilm. But at the same time, I have the opinion of Filoni has shown that he can shine brighter than anybody else in the animated department. We've got Clone Wars and Rebels. He's announcing the next one, the sequel series to Rebels.
Resistance.
It's
its working title now, but now Resistance.
That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Star Wars Resistance.
Right.
I have the mentality, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And the only reason a lot of people are crying for Filoni to be in charge of Lucasfilm as a whole now is because he pulled one stunt, which was a great stunt, by the way, with Rebels, with the bringing it back around to the end of season 2 and showing that it did matter in the long run. He pulled a really good long game on that. And now a lot of people are wanting him to run Lucasfilm because of it, so that we have a set goal of where we're
I don't know if it's
going.
necessarily all that. I mean, that may be part of it, but again, we refer to it all the time, and I know a lot of other channels do as well when they speak of Star Wars and Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni really is George Lucas's Padawan.
He is, yeah.
You know, if anybody knows Lucas's mind, it was Dave Filoni, not Kathleen Kennedy, not J.J. Abrams, not Brian Johnson, not any of them. It was Filoni. Filoni worked the closest with George Lucas on Star Wars.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense on that.
But see, I wonder, though, why didn't Lucas make Filoni the head in the first place then, instead of Kathy?
Maybe because he wasn't ready. Maybe because he didn't have...
And maybe Rebels is what got him there.
Maybe it's got what got him there, plus the lost episodes of Clone Wars.
Clone Wars.
You know, which was really, really good and really dark.
Yeah, they were.
You know, but...
I could see Filoni doing live action. I don't want to say in the immediate future, because we've got so many live films already laid out. Rian Johnson's trilogy, the Game of Thrones showrunners got their own series. That's at least 7 films.
Yeah,
right
Weiss
there.
and Benioff, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I can never remember their names. If he's going to do live action, it's going to be further down the road. Probably 7, 8, 10 years.
Well,
like
I mean, if we're talking about like major motion picture, yeah, it's going to be a while before he gets his play.
Yeah.
But
oh, you mean live action in general?
yeah, but you know, Jon Favreau to me would be stupid to not give Filoni an episode of the live action show, and it's like, here you go, kid, show us what you got.
He might.
I say kid like he isn't my age or older. You know?
Right. TV shows do that a lot nowadays. You know, they'll give one of the star actors, you know what, you want to direct this episode? Go for it. Let's see what you can do, you know? My favorite TV show of all time is Supernatural. And I adore that show, and I'm pissed that next year is the beginning of the last season of it. And but once in a while, you'll see directed by Jensen Ackles or directed by Jared Padalecki. You know, like they directed themselves. And it's really cool to kind of see somebody branch out like that. So I could see him saying, hey, Filoni, come here. Let's see what you can do with this. You know, or at least a scene.
Well, see, I get
you know,
I get what you're talking about with that, because again, you know, I know it's kind of blasphemy on a Star Wars show, but I like Star Trek. And one of the things I always got a kick out of not STD, screw that show, but
Jonathan Frakes.
Well, not just Jonathan Frakes. I've seen LeVar Burton directing. I've seen Patrick Stewart directing.
Brent Spiner.
Yeah. Like, you see the actors actually not only doing, like, the shows they were on, but branching off into the rest of the franchise, doing directions on that as well. I think even Marina Sirtis did an episode. And I always thought that was great. But I think this would be the perfect opportunity. My thought on why Filoni was not handed the reins from the beginning of the sale of Lucasfilm is I think he was untested. And Lucas knew that. Well, here's your chance, Filoni. Time to step out of the funny pictures and into the big boy chairs. And I think Favreau would be stupid to not give him that opportunity, because I think he would soar. You give him that chance, he's going to soar. And in the end, yes, I want to see Dave Filoni take over Lucasfilm, because I think Dave Filoni would treat it a way that Kathleen Kennedy has not.
Well, no, I'm not saying I wouldn't want to see him take over. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. That's all I'm saying. And if it's going to happen, it's going to be years down the road.
And, I'm forever grateful to Kathleen Kennedy because she gave us more...
Oh, same.
Because she gave us more Star Wars. But I think Dave Filoni, unlike Kathleen Kennedy, would keep his personal politics out of it and stay with the spirit of Star Wars. So
that's one thing that Kathy has done that really got under my skin. Other than that, I'm a big fan of Kathleen Kennedy, what she's done, but I do have to agree with you on that. Yes.
It doesn't matter whether I agree with the politics or not. It doesn't belong in the movie. You know what I mean? And I think Dave Filoni, as he's proven with Rebels, as he's proven with Clone Wars, is that he will stick to the spirit of what Star Wars is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it does bringing into Kathleen Kennedy and Jon Favreau's announcement, and we just talked about it. You got Ryan Howard, you got Gareth Edwards, you got Ryan Johnson, you got Jon Favreau, Benioff, and Weiss.
The talent's there.
The talent is there, but people are starting to have a very bad issue with Star Wars not being diverse.
The way they remember it.
Diverse.
Well, I see.
In their choices of heads of the powers that be, if you will. And of course, they're attacking Kathleen Kennedy because Kathleen Kennedy's putting in her personal politics in the movies, but she's not necessarily enforcing it in the films themselves. This is going to be a touchy subject. We're going to be on the subject of politics here a little bit, but it's for Star Wars benefit, not for personal view. To be able to ask this question, I'll give my opinion of it first, okay? I have no problems with the fact of them ever bringing somebody of color or somebody, who's a woman or whatever the case to become a director or a writer. There are female writers and stuff of that nature within Star Wars, but I mean into the major movies or the major TV show, the big powers that be. I get where they're coming from. That's like it's a white man social club right now. But here's the difference. You're talking about Benioff and Weiss. You're talking about Jon Favreau. You're talking about Ron Howard, Oscar award-winning Ron Howard. You're talking about people who are tried and tested in the film communities. In my opinion, yes, I can sit here and I can name some women. And I can name some directors of color. That would be I think would be great for Star Wars. But to me, I don't give two craps what skin color or what dangles or doesn't dangle between their legs, as long as they give me a solid, true Star Wars film. So here's the question. 1, is there a problem with diversity in Star Wars? And then 2, does it even really matter?
First off, no, it doesn't matter. It honestly does. I'm going to answer that one first. It honestly does not matter, because people who are crying because it's a bunch of white guys making Star Wars, they're not going for them because they're white. They're going for them because they're qualified, because of their resume. That's what they're going after. Now, what was your first question? Is it a problem?
Is it a problem? Yeah.
No, I don't think it's a problem at all. Look, when you want to talk diversity,
yeah, please.
right? They said they're going to make a brand new Star Wars series. They said this back in, 2012? Mm-hmm. We're going to make a new trilogy, right? Everybody's chomping at the bit to see what this new trilogy is going to look like. First teaser trailer released. Who's the first character you see in the first teaser trailer for the first of the new Star Wars
Finn,
movies?
and everybody bitched. A black stormtrooper.
Everybody complained about it. Remember? Everybody bitched because why are you showing a black guy first? Really? And these are the same people saying there's not enough diversity in Star Wars now. They're eating themselves alive at this point.
And then of course the main character is Rey, and she's a Mary Sue.
Is a female. Which actually, going back to the novelization real quick, read the novelization, Rey's not a Mary Sue at all. It completely explains how she has her powers, how she learned to use her powers, everything. It completely explains it. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in real quick.
He digresses.
Anyway, if every Star Wars fan read that novel, the term Mary Sue would never be used again. I swear it. But anyway, you've got a main character who's female. You know, it's not a problem. It is not a problem. Look, and then the second film to come out. Who are the main two characters? A female and a Latin American man. Mm-hmm. Those are the main two characters.
I know.
You can't sit here and say... No, I'm not talking to you.
I know.
Personally.
I know you are.
You can't sit here and say Star Wars is not being diverse. You can't do it. They're looking for talent. They don't care where the talent's coming from. If it's talent, they're going for it. They don't care if you're... It would be more racist to go out and look for black people specifically, or, Asian people. Look, we've got our first Asian woman in Star Wars. Rose Tico. Kelly Marie Tran is our first Asian girl ever in Star Wars.
Yeah, we could have done without that. Not an Asian, not a non-Asian female, but I mean, we could have done without that character, or at least that actress playing that character. Cause
that I agree with. But it's the first time you've put a Chinese, or I don't want to say Chinese, Asian. Sorry, I'm gonna piss some people off because she wasn't Chinese. Right. An Asian, and I know that was kind of everybody's gonna be like, "You're racist for thinking she's Chinese." Whatever, I don't care. But she's Asian. That was a first also. So far, every single Star Wars movie has pulled off a first.
Well, look, the way I look at it, especially with the polarization of The Last Jedi, is and this new trilogy in general, is everybody's complaining that, back in the day, there was only one female and one black guy in the universe. And that was
There were 3 black guys in the universe.
Well, I know, but I'm talking about in the original trilogy, you had Lando and you had Leia.
Yeah,
in the prequels,
there were 3 black guys.
In the prequels, you had Padme and you had Samuel L. Jackson. Now you got Finn and you got Rey.
And then Jar Jar Binks, who is the most racist thing on the face of the planet. Just saying. Just wanted to throw that out there. And the Nemoidians.
Yeah, but I forgive Jar Jar thanks to Rose.
Look, the Nemoidians were friggin' modeled after Sulu.
Yeah.
They were. I just want to throw that out there.
What is going on down there?
What is going on down there? Godzilla!
But the long and the short of it is that Star Wars is a very diverse, wide universe.
Yes.
Are we ever going to have a black Jedi who may be a main character? Absolutely. But you know what? Before I see that, you know what I like to see in Star Wars? A fucking alien being the lead.
Thank you.
This is supposed to be a wide universe, and all I've ever seen is humans. Aliens have been background
in the films.
In the films.
In the films.
In the cartoons, of course, we had Hera and stuff of that nature, and of course, in the books, we've had aliens take forefront, Thrawn, and stuff of that nature. Yeah. But I mean, as far as in the films, I'd love to see an alien creature. Of course, it's a human in an alien costume, but I mean, I'd love to see an alien creature take the lead role. Because I want to see this universe expanded. It's not just humans that live in this galaxy.
I want to see more Twi'leks.
I can live without
in the new films.
I can live without Twi'leks. Everybody's on the
Twi'leks.
Twi'leks is on everybody's jock for whatever reason. Well, give me the Zubrak.
I can tell you why.
Give me the Zubrak.
Ooh, a Zabrak would be good. Yeah. But I can tell you why Twi'leks, because that is. I know in A New Hope and Empire we saw several aliens, but the ones that really took the forefront in Jedi were the Twi'leks in Jabba's palace. And then
just because her boob popped out.
Well, yeah, that was the one and only nipple slip in Star Wars. But seriously, like Cham Syndulla was a Twi'lek, obviously. Hera obviously was a Twi'lek, but I wouldn't mind seeing. Look, I'll even go as far as to say this, and you probably won't like this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. Like I said, this is my opinion. Like we were saying earlier, this is my opinion.
Right.
I don't give a shit about yours. I don't give a shit about my opinion, to be honest.
Yeah.
But anyway, and nothing personal by that. But
I'm offended. No, go ahead.
Oh, here we go. In Rogue One, how hard would it have been? Why did the Ursos have to be human? Think about it. Why couldn't the Ursos have been Twi'leks?
Well, I'm fine with the Ursos being human.
I was too. But what I'm getting, well, not necessarily Twi'leks, but what I'm getting at is, what would it have mattered had she been a Zabrak? The family been Zabraks. What would it have mattered? It wouldn't have mattered a single lick. You know? And they could have made them aliens.
Look, we know.
And it wouldn't have changed anything.
We know what we're both talking about here. 9-nub standalone.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please. 9-nub standalone film. Yes,
9-nub standalone film. Now, here's a question for you.
Okay.
And this is one I was sitting on for the longest time because, as you know, I've been trying forever to get a hold of Freddie Prinze Jr., which I've gotten a hold of him, and we've talked video games and stuff of that nature. But getting him for an interview, which, of course, I'm going to try again now that Rebels is over, trying to get him for an interview, one of the questions I majorly wanted to ask him is, would you want to see Freddie Prinze Jr. or excuse me, Kanan Ezra in live action? And of course, the question would have been, which was before Rebels, which now I know would probably not make sense. But, you know, the original question was going to be, would you want to play Kanan in a live action performance? No offense, I think he's a little too old for the character now. Unless they put a lot of Just for Men into his hair and stuff of that nature. But would you, again, the question still stands, would you want to see the Rebels characters or even any of the Clone Wars characters like we did with Saw Gerrera in Rogue One appear in maybe the live action TV show or maybe one of the other films and stuff of that nature? And if so, who would you have playing those roles?
Oh my God, that's a good question. As far as Kanan goes, I'm going to say the unpopular thing, and I'm going to say no. Because I feel like his story between the comics and A New Dawn and Rebels, I feel like his story was pretty much told from beginning to end.
Okay.
And as far as Freddie being too old to play him, you could get anybody to play him, and it would still work. It doesn't have to sound just like... Hell, you had Sam Witwer voicing the Emperor. I mean, not in the last episode, obviously. They brought Ian back.
That's a terrible analogy, though, because Sam Witwer does a hell of an Emperor impression.
He does, but it's not the same guy that played him in the films, right? So if you got a film version of Kanan, you could have somebody else play it, and it would still be accepted by fans. As far as anybody from Rebels popping up in film, do a special edition of Rogue One. I'm going to say this. Change 2 goddamn things in it. 1, put Jar Jar in it just so that Bail can say, go wait for me on Alderaan. And then X what happens to him in the Aftermath trilogy. For the love of God, just have Jar Jar on Alderaan when it blows up.
Yeah, don't do what you did to Jar Jar. That was... I understand that was fan service, but that was too far. Even Jar Jar didn't deserve that. Rose, on the other hand,
no, he did. He deserved it.
No,
I'm so happy Jar Jar suffered.
Look, as much as I'm kind of on the fence about the Aftermath series. Granted, I haven't read Empire's End yet. But as much as I'm on the fence with the Empire's End trilogy or the Aftermath trilogy, I've got to say this. I got to give credit to the author because he made me actually give a shit and feel bad for Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah,
because that was a fate that's worse than death.
Good, he deserved one. No. But as far as Rebels characters popping up in live action, how hard would it have been in Rogue One when we see Chopper going off to the side to put a green Twi'lek in an orange jumpsuit in front of him? How hard would that have been? Anybody who doesn't watch Rebels wouldn't have given it a second thought, and the Rebels fans would have been like, "Oh my God, did you see that? That was Hera." How hard would that have been?
Well, that's
now, granted, at the time they didn't want to give away that she was going to survive Rebels,
but they did give it away because the
But
Ghost
they
showed up in
did-
Rogue One.
Thank
They,
you.
they announced General Syndulla, and Chopper rolled across screen. You already knew they were surviving. Quite honestly, with Rebels, I was more surprised that Ezra theoretically survived and that Sabine theoretically survived. Well, we know she survived. She survived the whole Galactic Civil War. I'm surprised Zeb survived.
Oh, you know who I want to see from Rebels in live action?
Zeb?
Captain Rex.
Captain Rex. Oh, yeah.
I went there.
Oh, man.
Cry, fanboys, cry.
Pay attention for the next It Had to Be Said, because we will be talking about things that deal with Rex and the fanboys who want to bitch about it.
Yes, we are.
But, which is going to lead into a lot deeper discussion.
Well, before you do, I know we're running kind of short on time. But I'm going to amend your question a bit. I'm going to shoot it back at you.
Okay, go ahead.
You ask characters from Rebels who we'd like to see in live action. I'm gonna answer it first. That way I can ask it. What about characters from comics that you'd like to see in live action that have not been in a live action? I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna say a choice you are gonna hate. You already know what I'm gonna say.
Not
you already
Afra.
know what I'm gonna say. I want to see Afra live action.
I don't.
They're making a Black Series figure of her. I want to see a live action Afra.
I don't want to see Afra, but I want to appease some of the fanboys, including myself, even though you can't use the original name anymore. Not necessarily from the comics, but from the video game series. And no, I'm not going to say Revan, because we all know everybody wants Revan.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to say Galen Merrick, a.k.a. Starkiller. I want him brought back. I want him live action.
That'd be cool.
But, of course, he can't be called Starkiller because...
Well, he could. Maybe they named Starkiller base after
maybe
Starkiller. You know.
I mean,
don't know.
either way,
Anyway.
you're going to be retconning the Force Unleashed, which obviously was retconned anyway. But
Right.
I would love to see the character himself appear. And fuck it, depending on the time frame, let Sam Witwer play him.
I'd be all right with that. I would be okay with that. I seriously would. I don't think they're going to do something like that. I don't think they would want to introduce somebody that powerful into Star Wars. But if they did, oh my God, I'd be first in line.
You know where you put him?
Oh,
You put him
where?
in. You put him in the standalone Vader movie. Because who's the one person you know could destroy him?
Yeah.
Vader.
Yeah, no, that's the only place he would really make sense.
The
Yeah.
one
That's-
place you know he could get destroyed is Vader.
Yep.
You know,
that would make sense.
so make him the protagonist / antagonist of the Vader standalone movie.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Vader created him in the beginning, and then Vader's hunting him down the rest of the film. Mm-hmm. I'd be all right with that.
I'd
Because
be
then it would explain a lot. Well, I mean, you could even do the whole storyline with him helping form the rebellion. Now, granted, the rebellion was already formed at that point. Depending on where you drop it, depending on where you put that project, you could have Galen be there for that.
You could almost make Force Unleashed canon.
Itself. As is, yeah.
As canon. I mean, you change some things, like he was involved with the formation of the rebellion, but he wasn't necessarily the inspiration of it.
Right.
You know, he doesn't necessarily have to be Vader's apprentice. He could have been a failed Inquisitor.
Yeah.
You know, or you know, leave the storyline as is, except for instead of an apprentice, he was the son of a Jedi, a hidden son of another Jedi.
Well, he was the son of another Jedi.
Oh, I know, but he would, you know, continuing with the way the storylines are now.
Oh,
you know, he was a hidden son that the Jedi Order didn't know about, and he just grew in the Force. He was a Mary Sue in the Force.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the unleashed part of it is the fact that he's unhinged. He was never properly trained. He was your oh, God, I hate the fact I'm going to let this come out of my mouth, but he was your gray Jedi.
Yeah. Well, no, you brought up Mary Sue just now. Let me take just a second real quick.
Go ahead.
All these fanboys who are like, we want Galen Starkiller back. Or what was it? Galen Malik?
Galen Merrick.
Merrick, that was it. He was a Mary Sue. But then Rey comes along and you call her Mary Sue? Really? Starkiller pulled a Star Destroyer out of the sky, in case you didn't remember.
So did Luke.
And they never explained how he was that stupid powerful. But then somebody else comes along and you're like, oh, we don't know her backstory, so she's got to be. Well, they told you their backstory in 8 and you don't want to accept it. But anyway, I'm digressing.
Right. No,
I'm about to get into something I don't want to get into. So.
No, wait, that's fine. But the one argument that I can make for it is the same way as Revan. Revan was a Mary Sue in his own right because they're video games.
Yeah.
Jaden was a Mary Sue in freaking Jedi Academy. Mm-hmm. You know, Kyle Katarn was in Jedi Outcast.
Yeah.
God,
I love Kyle Katarn.
But you know, he was a Mary Sue. I mean, but you have to be. It's the protagonist of a video game.
Yep.
What's her name from Battlefront 2? Idris. Iden. She was a Mary Sue. But of course, the video game characters are only Mary Sues depending on how well you play the game and how well you leveled up the characters.
Right.
Galen Merrick would not be all that powerful facing Vader if you didn't do all the upgrades and everything. If you tried to vanilla him from the beginning of the game to Vader, yeah.
Hell, they even overpowered Vader in that story.
Oh yeah, they did.
Even Vader was just over the top, and nobody complained about him being able to do that stuff. But then in the new films, he was just like, you know, like.
But you know what? It's Vader. He's supposed to be that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So
as much as you love or hate Hayden Christensen, the character of Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, is the chosen one. He is the guy who was created by the Force. Mm-hmm. If anybody is supposed to be a fucking Mary Sue, it's that guy.
Yeah. Anakin. Seriously, no, you're right. Anakin was the Mary Sue of the story.
Mm-hmm. If anybody's supposed to be that guy, whether it's in comics, whether it's in films, whether it's in books, whether it's in video games, it's that guy.
However, I will give this. When episode 1 came out, even I was old enough to realize everybody was giving him crap for the whole Messiah birth thing. Even I can give that much.
But even so, they kind of retconned it with it being kind of Palpatine's manipulation.
Right.
More than just the Force created him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they did kind of shy away from the Christian overlay of it.
They did, yes.
You know. All right, Brian, where can they find you if they want to reach out to you?
You guys can find me at the Star Wars Canon Library on YouTube and on Facebook. If you guys are watching this on Facebook, hit the thumbs up button on the Canon Library page going on over there. I would love to have you guys follow. Make sure to visit the website StarWarsCanonLibrary.com for the entire timeline, chronologically placed in order, everything so far on that shelf over there, plus a little more that I don't have on that shelf over there. Cover art for everything. And you guys can find me right here on Journal of the Jedi each week with Chris Stolle. And Chris, where can they find you at, brother?
Well, you can find me anywhere there's a little logo that says Realm of the Mist. I appear on That Trans Geek Girl. Of course, I do Press A Gaming as Wild High 77, running a whole bunch of series. I'm trying to get it where I can release a video every day of the week of different gameplays. I'm doing Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Final Fantasy 12, Final Fantasy 1, Skyrim, shit, I'm playing other games. I can't even remember what they are at the moment. You know, stuff of that nature. I'm trying to give you guys something released every day. Of course, I appear here on Journal of the Jedi. Once in a while, I appear on Canon Library or Monday Mailbag. War of the Stars. I missed the last War of the Stars, but I'll probably be at the next one. And, of course, it had to be said, and eventually, I will give a kind of a modification rebirth of Breaking the Fourth Wall. Not in the sense that it'll be Breaking the Fourth Wall anymore. That is dead and gone. But the idea of Breaking the Fourth Wall, the general entertainment discussion roundtable, will return when there's something to talk about, which, I don't know, we're starting to get close on. There's a couple things I would love to touch base on. But beyond that, you can always find me at realmofthemist.com and, of course, here at the Realm of the Mist YouTube channel. And, of course, I want to give a very, very special guest to pretty much our number one fan, Richard J., who is the inspiration of our spoiler alert icon, which will pop up here again real quick for you.
Hey, there he is.
But also, you'll notice that there's an audio file with that now, and that is also Richard J., so Rich, we love you. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy your 5 seconds of fame.
That's the only time we're using it.
That's the only time we're never doing it again.
No,
No,
I'm
we're
just kidding. No, I'm
absolutely
just
using it again. But guys, thank you very much, and we'll catch you next week. Hopefully, we'll be back into more comics because I'll pick up my stuff. Because I really want to talk about this Vader run. I think it's time to visit Lord Vader again.
Oh, we got to talk about this run. It is so good.
So until then, guys, make sure you hit a like, subscribe, share, follow if you're on Facebook, and of course, may the Force be with you.
Always.